So, where's your apartment? 4th floor. Hey, that's where I'm going too. Hey, you know what? You have too many bags. Here, let me take one of those from you. No thanks, that's okay, I got it. Oh, come on. There's such a thing as being too proud, you know. Kelly sighed, handed him the bag as he had been insisting. They both knew that she was also handing over control of the situation. What followed was 3 hours of terror and violation at the point of a gun. This story is repeated in the beginning of the book, The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker. Kelly, in the story, she didn't want to be paranoid. She didn't want to pay attention to the danger signs and the intuitions that were around her. I want to suggest, as does de Becker in the book, that this is not the attitude we should have. I want to suggest that we should be just a little paranoid. Here's why. Have you ever been approached, maybe in the parking lot here at Food Lion in Leesburg, by somebody asking for directions? I have. But have you ever thought to yourself, is this guy using this as a ploy to rob me or to assault me? Paranoid? Well, the fact is, attackers do use exactly these kinds of tricks. In fact, they even have a name for it. They call it the interview. Ted Bundy, the serial killer back in the 1980s, would interview many of his victims in exactly this way. We think sometimes of, I think, attackers the wrong way. In a lot of ways, bad guys are wimps. They're not looking for a fair fight. They're looking for somebody in a position of disadvantage that they can take advantage of. They're a lot like predators in the wild. They're not going to attack, a larger animal. They want to find one that's weaker. By being aware of what's around us, our surroundings, we take away that advantage of the attackers. There's an author, martial artist, and former bouncer named Jeff Thompson. And Thompson talks about 4 different color-coded levels of awareness. The lowest level is code green, where you're really not paying attention to what's around you, you're just focused on yourself. The next level is code yellow, where you're not scared, but you are aware. You know what's going on around you. The next level up, heightened awareness, code orange. You're not necessarily scared, but you're in a position, in a situation that may get dangerous, like Kelly was, walking through a city by herself. And finally, red is where you identify a specific threat, and you need to either avoid it or to neutralize it. Thompson says we should never be below code yellow when we're out in public. We should always be aware of what's around us. Sadly, Kelly wasn't in that situation, even though she was in a fairly, possibly dangerous situation. Being aware of things also feeds our intuition. And listening to your intuition might just save your life someday. Kelly was not listening to her intuition. She wasn't listening to the danger signs that were all around her. Danger signs like what? Well, remember that little dialogue that I did a minute ago. Here, you have too many bags. Let me take one of those. No thanks. That's okay, I got it. Oh, come on. There's such a thing as being too proud, In the book, de Becker lists not taking no for an answer as being a very strong danger sign. And I really urge you, if you're ever in a situation like that and somebody doesn't take no for an answer, please take it seriously. I didn't tell you the end of Kelly's story. She ignored the warning signs at the beginning and ended up paying for it. She kept hoping against hope. He'd just go away and leave her alone. Finally, he got up from the bedroom, or got up in the bedroom, closed the bedroom window, turned up the stereo, and said, "Now you just stay there and I won't hurt you." He walked out of the room and into the kitchen, looking around for a knife, as it turned out. Kelly thought about this for a minute. She thought, he told me he wouldn't hurt me. But he's been lying to me all along, and he's brutalized me for 3 hours now. So why wouldn't he lie now? She just knew that he was going to kill her. So while he was in the kitchen, she snuck out of the room and ran out of the apartment. Later on, de Becker asked her in the book how she was so sure that he was going to kill her. She said, I don't know. But then she thought for a minute and said, no, wait a minute, I do know. He turned up the stereo and closed the window so nobody could hear me scream. She realized that she really did know all along what was going on. Her intuition was talking to her, but sadly she wasn't listening to it. Finally, she did listen to it, and it saved her life. But I don't want to only concentrate on the negative parts. We say that we don't want to be paranoid, but I find being aware of my surroundings actually gives me a greater sense of security. About 30 years ago, I was over in Reston at the Safeway, and for some reason, don't ask me why, I took out my wallet and laid it down in my shopping cart. Somebody came along where I had my back turned, and he stole my wallet. Now, I don't want to make too big of a deal about this, but I've always felt ever since then that having my wallet stolen kind of ruined my faith in my fellow man just a little bit. I didn't really think it through, but it was just kind of a vague feeling that hung over me. Now, as I'm scanning, now as I'm being aware of what's around me, it seems like a paradox, but I actually feel safer than I did before. Because I know that if there is a danger out there, I can recognize it, and I can do something about it. It's really very, very empowering. I think it's like how if we ignore our grief, it'll haunt us. But if we face our grief, we can work our way through it. Kelly in the book relates the same thing. She says she now feels a more strong sense of self, and she feels more confident because she knows she listened to her intuition, and it saved her life. In fact, she's quoted as saying, I actually feel safer now walking around in the city than I did before the attack. Finally, I started with being aware to make myself safer and make my family safer. But I said a minute ago that I had my wallet stolen and it took away a little bit of my faith in human nature. Well, it seems odd, but being aware and looking for signs of danger actually restores my faith in human nature. I've never had people do anything too bad to me. I mean, my wallet's stolen, I had my bike stolen when I was a kid. These are little things. And I didn't think about it, but it was just kind of this cloud that hung over my head. I don't know if we know that kind of a feeling where you don't really want to look around. You're just kind of like hoping nobody does anything bad to you. That's how I felt for a long time. Now, though, I'm aware of what's going on. I look around. I don't nervously look around. Rather, I can be a little bit paranoid. I can confidently look people in the eye. And what I realize is 99% of the time, there's no bad guys out there. There's no attackers out there. These people are all good folks. I find it hard to really explain it, but it's really a very encouraging realization. So, should we be paranoid? I want to suggest yes, just a little bit. We should have an awareness of what and who is around us. We should be looking for bad guys that may hurt us. We should listen to our intuition. Please, if you only take one thing away from this talk, I want to ask you to make it, don't ignore your intuition. If your intuition is telling you something, listen to it. It might just save your life. But finally, while you should definitely be looking for bad guys, don't forget to notice that not all the guys are bad.